Okay, this is Coach Huebner courtside, our second show. We have Seth Berger from Westtown. He's been here building basically one of the top programs in the country for prep school level. And thanks for coming today, I appreciate it.
Great.
And I'm just going to ask you a series of questions, and at the end we'll get to the lightning round.
Awesome.
So get ready.
Good.
How did you get started in basketball as a kid? How did this whole thing begin for Seth Berger?
You know, I can actually still remember today the first time I played. I was at a camp. I was 12 years old in Massachusetts. I can still see the red, white, and blue nets.
Okay.
My camp counselor said that I was a pretty good athlete, and why didn't I try to pick up basketball? At that point, I actually was a football and a baseball player. I fell in love with the game literally that day, and haven't stopped playing since. You know, I'm 50. I need hip replacement. I had shoulder surgery, and every Tuesday when I get a chance, you'll still find me playing pickup run. So the time I was 12 to the time I died, you know, basketball has been my mistress or my wife, depending on what my wife tells you.
Yeah. Well, how do you hang in there with these guys, with your players? Can you still play with the high school kids?
No. The kids we had, so I didn't move without the basketball until I started coaching. And I didn't set a screen until I was 45.
Oh.
So now that I'm 50, I know my role. My role out there is to set a screen and get out of the way.
Well, let me ask you this. When you set the screen, do you find you're open to shoot then?
I don't move, no.
Okay.
Listen, like you have pick and roll guys.
Yeah.
You have pick and pop guys. I'm a pick and stand guy.
Okay. But it's still fun for you.
I love it. I love it, yes.
Well, that's cool. Now, I know your background. You started and won.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit how that started. I mean, you built a humongous business and then you sold it. What was the evolution of that for you?
So the truth is, it came out of a love for basketball. I had graduated from Penn. I played a year JV basketball at the University of Pennsylvania. Graduated in '89. Worked in politics for a couple of years, and I went back, got my MBA at the Wharton School. I was interviewing for investment banking jobs, and I got myself into the final round with a couple of banks in New York. I think still unlikely to get the job. And I had also done a business plan for AM1.
Mm-hmm.
I went out with a buddy, and he was trying to figure out whether he was going to get engaged to the girl he was living with. And he and she got engaged, and that woman became his wife. And he told me at that point, he said, you know what? 25, you broke, you got no wife and kids. Why not go start a business? If it flops in 2 or 3 years, you'll have a Wharton degree, get a job, and who knows, maybe it could be a nice small business. From there, quite honestly, the next 12 years were a once-in-a-lifetime experience, mostly about the people that I got to work with. So the business was a hockey stick up, and a hockey stick down, and a hockey stick back up. But that was all secondary to getting to go to work with people that I loved every day.
Such as, who were some of those people?
Oh man, my best friend, so the guy I went to dinner with was my best friend from home, Jay Gilbert, who's still my best friend today, whose son just graduated, who's our student body president last year.
Cool.
Ray Mosley, one of my best friends from grad school. Bart Houlihan, one of Jay's best friends, whose wife is actually running for Congress here right now, and Guy Harkless and Tom Austin, friends of mine from DC and from Penn. So I started with basically 5 of my closest friends, and we still remain close today.
We're not ready for the lightning round yet, but I'm going to hit you with a trivia question. Okay, you went to the Wharton School at Penn. Do you know who founded the Wharton School? Who was the founder?
I want to say Joseph Wharton, but I have no idea who that is.
Huebner.
I don't know who that is.
My last name's Huebner.
Oh, there you go.
He spelled his H-E-E, I'm H-U-E.
That's too bad.
That's the only reason.
That's too bad.
That's the only reason.
You might be having an interview with a private friend who spelled your name differently.
I couldn't get into that, but you could, so that's pretty cool. I knew I had to throw that one at you. But another thing here, I keep hearing politics. Are you someday going to maybe run for office?
No,
Is that?
I chose, interesting, when I went down to work in D.C., I went down there with the idea that all Democrats are good people, all Republicans are bad people. And I quickly found out that most of the people down there were bad people.
Yeah.
And that the folks, there were very few people who truly wanted to serve. I was fortunate to work for Congressman Howard Ford Sr., who served his people in his district. And I actually, when I went back to grad school, I've always been focused on making a difference in my life. My entrance essay was that I wanted to be mayor of New York City and go back home and make a difference. In AM1, what we did is we donated over 5% of our profits to charities. So we actually donated over $2 million to youth-based charities when we were running the company. In some years, we gave away all of our profits. And then after I sold the business, I felt that I wanted to make a difference, a one-on-one with kids, as opposed to trying to make a broader difference. For me, having a one-on-one contact communication relationship with a boy who grows into a man who grows into an older man, and I can help that person along the way is really, really how I want to spend my life.
In my research, I saw you sold it for around 250 million. Is that right?
We were doing at our height, we were doing about 250 million in sales. When we sold it, we were doing about 185 to 190. We did not sell it for that number, but actually in 1999, we had sold a piece of the business to a venture capital firm, and that removed much of the risk for me. And my number to stop working and start serving was always very low. So once I hit that number, I wanted to start serving.
Okay. And as far as serving, you're serving kids growing into young men, but you're also serving the pros. Was that part of the plan? Did you ever think you'd be coaching guys like Karen Reddish? And
No.
yeah. Yeah.
No. When I started, all I really cared about is I wanted to coach kids who loved basketball and were committed to being the best players they can be, and in a community that I love. So I love the West Town School. I love what this place stands for. And I wanted to coach kids who love West Town and love hoops. So, in fact, my first 4 kids that I quote-unquote recruited that summer,
Right.
One played Division I basketball at Brown University. One played Division III ball at Bard. One played Division II basketball in Puerto Rico. And then, of course, the kid who I recruited who didn't show up for the following year was Daniel Ochefu, who ended up
that's who's out
in the
there.
league. And exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened at West Town, I think, was that kids want to play with really good players. So initially, when my last year as an assistant coach, we were 3-15. The prior year, my first year as an assistant, we were 11-9. We had some good players. And our coach, Joe Parrish, is an excellent coach. So then we kind of took a dip, and then when I got here, we were fortunate to get a few players who were really committed and get in the gym and stay in the gym. And so I think that word kind of traveled fast. So then when Daniel Ochefu showed up, he was really unknown. He had gone back home to Nigeria. He grew up in Baltimore, went back home to Nigeria. And then he came here as a freshman, and by his sophomore year, everybody knew who Daniel Ochefu was. And all of a sudden, more good players wanted to come to West Town. Our filter is pretty high. You have to be a really good student to be able to get in here. So I think kids know, unless they're committed to both academics and basketball, I don't get the calls. But yeah, I never thought, and quite frankly, the kids that have reached their heights, we didn't think when they first got here that they were going to reach those heights. For example, Mohamed Bamba, when he got here as a sophomore, he was the 54th ranked player in his class. And we all thought he was going to go to an Ivy League school because he's so smart. The kid got a 30 on the ACT. When Brandon Randolph, who's at Arizona, got here, he had one offer at Manhattan College. So I think that the combination of playing against good players in the gym and playing a really tough schedule has helped these kids quite, Jake Forrest, a kid from the Lehigh Valley, is a great example of a kid who's working really, really hard. He got here at the beginning of his junior year, he had an offer in North Florida and Stony Brook. And by the end of his junior year, he had everyone, including Indiana.
Now, how much is that attributable to you working them out and working on the fundamentals versus now they're playing where they're going to be seen more and they're playing with better players, and because they're here, someone recruiting Cam will see everybody?
Yeah, I think it's actually a combination of the first thing and the third thing, which is I think the most important is that they're playing against really good players in practice every day. So when we practice, we don't break down first team, second team. We play 5-on-5, and you're matched up against someone who hopefully is your level or slightly better than you.
Right.
So every day in practice is a battle. We, of course, have got a really committed staff of 5 assistants, so each kid usually has, there are 3 or 4 kids per coach. About 80% of our practice will be individual instruction. I really think in a program like West Town, or any program where a majority of your kids are going to go play college basketball, whether it's Division I, II, or III, your primary job as a high school coach is to help that kid improve, and that is competition and individual instruction. With the schedule, and the exposure, like when a kid comes here and they say, hey, I really want the exposure, I always say, well, you know what, if you want the exposure, you might just get exposed.
I like that.
So I think in today's world, if you are the 20th best player in the 2018 class, and you're playing in the middle of Iowa with 4 kids who are between 5'6" and 6'1", and coaches will find you.
Right.
That's their job.
They'll see your body and your athleticism.
Our job is to help these kids reach their highest level.
Yeah. It's funny, one of the quotes that reminds me of is, don't worry about getting seen, worry about getting good.
100%.
Because if you get seen and you stink, it's going to work against you.
They don't come back.
Yeah.
They don't come back.
They
That's
see
right.
you once in 5 minutes. 5 minutes will do it for a good coach.
Coaches got to play defense, you know, like a coach, they have limited time. So if they got to go see 20 kids and you go out and you try to do a whole bunch of stuff you can't do, the first time he sees you, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
He got to go see 19 other kids
Yeah.
to figure out who he wants to recruit.
And he's talking about Mo Bamba. Last night, if you turned on the TV, there he is playing for Texas
I
on
was on a
national
plane
TV.
coming home last night and I was following the game on ESPN. I was like, oh my God. And we went through, you can get the Wi-Fi on the plane now.
Yeah.
And I literally went through a dead spot when they were down 2 in regulation, and I didn't pop back until it was tied, starting up double OT.
Oh my God. And you had no idea what
I had
happened.
no idea what happened.
Well, you know, I look at a kid like that. He's, what is he, 7'1"?
No, he's 6'11", but he's got
6'11"?
a 7'9"
Oh,
wingspan.
his arms. But he's still skinny. He's still going to grow. But you said he's going to be top 3 in the NBA draft.
I think he is.
On one hand, you think, boy, that kid let his body fill out, give him another year in college. On the other hand, you think if you're top 3, you got to go. What's your thought?
I actually think, I'm a little bit different. I think if you're a first-round pick in any way, you have to go because that's guaranteed money.
Right.
I also think if you're a potential second-round pick, you should consider going. Because here's the thing, is the way the NBA salary cap and contracts are set up is it's not only the money you're going to forgo this year when you're playing in college, basically for free,
Right.
risking injury,
Right.
right? And you might never get there, but it's let's say your first contract, your team takes the option, you have 4 years. Well, you want to get to not only 1 extension, you want to get to 2 extensions. And the number of players that make it for 12 years in the NBA is very few and far between. So, you know, look at a kid like Melo Trimble. I'm sure he loved this experience at Maryland.
Yeah.
Great
4 years.
kid. I have a kid who's a senior there now, Jared Nickens. He speaks the world of Melo, as does Turge. You know, Melo was projected to go number 14 after his freshman year. You know, that's 3 years of guaranteed contract that he gave up.
That's a good point.
I think if you're a first round pick, 100%, you are the number 30. Like Kyle Anderson went number 30 to
Right.
San Antonio Spurs. I think after his freshman year at UCLA.
Uh-huh.
And everyone's like, well, he could come back and be 11. Well, he could come back and be number 75.
Right. There's a guy I thought would have developed and gotten more minutes. He is getting minutes now,
He is.
but it's taken 5 or 6 years.
He's in a, you know, what's interesting is I think he's in a great program for him because Kyle is such a cerebral player.
Mm-hmm.
He's so smart, and the way the Spurs play is he gets to do the things that he's really good at.
Reminds me of Simmons of the Sixers a little bit.
Yeah.
Not quite as good as that, but same tall, lanky, can handle the ball.
And intelligence.
Good passer, intelligent.
Knows what play should happen.
One more question, then we're going to have a timeout for the
Cool.
the break.
The lightning round.
You're not yet, but
Okay.
a couple more first. Your coaching role models. Who do you model yourself after? I always like to say, you know, people would ask me that, and I would say, maybe before the scandal, Tom Izzo at Michigan State. I like to get in your face defensively. He runs a lot of different sets. He incorporates chin. He has some 1-4 high. He mixes everything up, and that's what I like to do. Plus, he was passionate. So for me, that was who I sort of looked up to. How about you?
Yeah. You know, I would go back to my high school basketball and high school football coaches, who the first thing that I got from them was they really, really cared about the kids. So I think the one thing that if you come to West Town, the first thing that you should know is that I will care about your kid, and I'll take care of your kid as if you were my kid.
Right.
In terms of the X's and O's with basketball stuff, I'm really fortunate. Bill Lang Sr. is in South Jersey, Jersey and South Jersey Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest high school coaches. Coach Jason Thompson in the NBA. He was my biggest high school mentor. And then the college side, Fran Dunphy, Fran O'Hanlon, and Jay Wright have all been great to me. So when I started coaching, I basically at that point wasn't working. I was semi-retired, and I said, you know what, I want to spend 6 to 8 hours a day trying to be the best coach I can be. I had no interest in moving up. I wanted to coach high school, but I wanted to be the best I could be for these kids here. And so Dunph and Franny O and Jay would let me come into any practice that I wanted to. They would let me, you know, X and O afterwards. And I think something different from each of them. So Dunph is, you know, a phenomenal defensive coach. And he lets his kids play offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, you just can't make mistakes. He does a great job of controlling the game. Franny O is the best offensive coach I've ever sat with,
Keeps
talked
the ball
to,
moving.
listened to, ball moving, the you know, details, the exactness of the cuts, the timing, the kids knowing what to do, what not to do. And then Jay, you know, Jay's kids play really, really hard. You know, Jay's kids are the first on the floor. There's never a loose ball they're not going for. And he also gives them a ton of freedom to shoot the ball. So
Right.
it's like, hey, shoot it. If you miss it, the worst thing that happens, you're going to lose, and they're all going to blame their coach anyway.
Yeah.
So those three guys have been great mentors.
Okay, we got a timeout. We got a tea. We need to get a tea.
Oh, let's go.
Honest tea, and because your name's Berger, the food of the day is burger. Oh, look at you, The food of the day is burger. You don't have to eat the whole thing.
No, I don't have to. Do I get to?
You get to.
I love Burger King. So every year I put on between 5 and 7 times.
Oh, yeah.
The reason is that if you leave West Town on the way to my house, there's Burger King and Wawa. And so we practice late. I haven't had dinner. So I leave here, and you know, like 4 nights a week, even if my wife has cooked for me, I don't have the discipline to wait till I get home. And I'm
Right.
like, I should go to the Wawa and get a salad. 2 nights a week, I'm stopping at the Burger King. So
Yep.
thank you very much.
Yeah. You tell your wife we took care of you. We always want to feed our coaches when we have this show. Flame boiled.
Yep.
Do you like honesty? Have you had this before?
Of course, my wife buys it all the time.
It's my favorite
Great
stuff.
stuff.
We always want to get a team midway in our segment here. Keep eating. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. I think you kind of answered me on you're not interested in jumping to college ranks.
No, I'm coaching high school basketball because it's a great way for me to combine something that I love, which is basketball, with making a difference. You know, I think with the NCAA rules, I probably couldn't be as involved in the kids' lives off the court as I'd want to be. You really have to, in my opinion, you can have an influence, but not as much as like, so here, if I'm taking a kid out to lunch, I don't have to worry that I'm
Right.
paying for his lunch
You
at
just help him.
Applebee's. I just help him. And I also, for me, like the age between 14 and 15 and 18 and 19, is kids are still listening, they're still growing, they're still learning.
Yeah.
I know myself when I was 20 or 21, I probably thought I had more figured out than I did. When I was 16 or 17, I was more open to listening. So I feel like I can have more of an influence on kids in high school than I can in college.
Then the last question here before we get to the lightning round. You're coaching your son. Sometimes that's easy, sometimes it's harder. I played for my dad,
Really?
and there were times I was a pain in the apples. And, you know, sometimes I was a little overboard and you know, immaturity. And he was great. I loved playing for him, but, you know, I was at times was not the best coachable kid, maybe because it was my dad.
Yeah.
How has it worked for you with your son?
You know, I've been lucky. I have guardianship of 5 brothers from overseas.
Okay.
From Nigeria, 4 of whom played here. And so I was their coach before I was their family.
Oh, that's tough.
So they knew me as coach first. Now in this situation, I have an older son who's actually a golfer at Lafayette. He's a freshman.
Oh, okay.
He played AAU ball when he was a kid. He was really easy to coach because he was usually the 5th to 7th man on my team.
Okay.
He was never taking all the shots, and I never had to worry. He always knew the right thing to do. He knew his role. So with TJ, quite honestly, and then I have a younger son, Quinn, who's in 8th grade. And so I've coached Cole, TJ, and Quinn in AAU. The first thing I told them, and usually as their assistant coach,
Right.
once we go in the gym, don't call me dad.
Right. Right.
Let's just make it really clear. So each of them once in a layup line in an AAU tournament called me dad. I looked at them, they looked at me, they said, coach. I said, yep, let's make it clear. Once we walk through those doors, you're my player, I'm your coach. What's been hard about it this year with TJ is I worry that he's not enjoying it. So he has really surprised me and my staff this year. We thought, quite frankly, that this year he was going to come off the bench for us. He'd be able to give us like 8 to 12 minutes. And turned out he's a heck of a starting point guard for us this year.
Right.
His assist-to-turnover ratio is like 3 to 1. Since we put him in the starting lineup as a point guard, our points per game went up by 14. Starting to pick up his defense. So he is today where I thought he'd be as a senior.
Okay.
So he's really surprised me and my whole staff. Now, the hardest thing was that I was worried that he wasn't enjoying it. And then a week ago, actually, Fran Dunphy was in the gym. And he said to TJ, so how you like playing for your dad? And TJ said, 9.8 out of 10. And I said, you just say that because it's dumb?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
they said, no, I look forward to it every day. And I was like, wow. So now I get to enjoy it more, knowing that he doesn't dread it, that he likes to be coached by me. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, win-win.
Yeah, it's win-win. It's been great.
I'm sure Dump's like to hear that too.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
He is.
You ready for some lightning? All right, we're going to go to our lightning round here. Now, we're going to do either or. I'll give you just 2 facts.
All right.
And
I'm guessing the answer, or I'm giving you what I think?
you're giving me what you think. So, like, for example, the first one, I'll just...
Dunk it. That's always my answer.
Dunk it. Well, then I think I know what your answer is for this. Point guard or center?
Ooh, no.
Oh,
High
yeah.
school point guard.
Okay.
High school point guard. NBA, center.
Is that right?
Yes.
Even in today's game?
Yes, NBA center, because if you have a center who can protect the rim and play on the perimeter,
Yeah.
you got a guy that, you just can't beat. I think if you
Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba, brother. Mo Bamba can make threes, Mo Bamba can protect the rim, Mo Bamba can go up the bounce.
Yeah.
But in high school, especially without a shot clock, point guard is more important.
I agree. All right, here we go. Offense or defense?
Defense.
Titles or scholarships?
Oh, wow, scholarship's not even close.
I thought so for you.
Yeah.
Discipline or laissez-faire?
Discipline.
Sixers or Celtics?
Sixers!
It has to be
Come on,
where you work.
Sixers, don't matter. Never the Celtics.
Celtics or Lakers?
Lakers, never the Celtics.
UPenn or EpiPen?
UPenn.
I figured it had to be there. Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan.
Old school or new school?
New school.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Money or fame?
Neither.
Okay. Hall & Oates or Quaker Oats?
Quaker Oats.
Captain Crunch or Malachi Crunch?
Captain Crunch.
Okay.
Captain Crunch, whatever the second part of that. And you said Captain Crunch, Crunch Berries, we didn't even have to get to the or.
Okay. Humble or proud? I think I know that one. Humble. 3-pointers or 3-point plays?
3-pointers.
Okay. Man or zone?
Man.
Coach Wooden or Coach K?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Can't lose on
I
that.
literally was on a plane last night and I was reading the entire chapter dedicated to Coach Wooden about how in his practices he gave short instructions, completely different than conversations, lectures. It was
Rules of 3?
literally hit it here, pass it quickly, bang, bang, bang. This is really interesting to read. So I'm sorry to be.
Which book was that?
That
Because
was
the new Pat
called
Williams
the
one
Talent-
just came
It's
out.
called the Talent Code. It was about
Okay.
how, like, literally why the best players are coming out of Curacao and why great tennis players are coming out of Russia and what Coach Wooden did in his practice. It's all about how to help kids improve better.
Oh, I got to get that one. That's a good one. I'm a big reader of sports books. Half-court D or full-court press?
Half-court.
Nike or Adidas? Kind of a weird question for you.
Nike.
Okay.
Nike school.
Okay.
Nike school.
Right brain or left brain?
I don't know the difference.
Right brain more creative, left brain more math, science, technical.
I take either.
Okay. Well, if you're an entrepreneur, I got to go a little more right brain too.
Whatever you tell me, I'm glad I just have a brain.
Okay. Elon Musk or talcum powder?
Elon Musk.
That's the guy who's doing the rockets. You probably know who he is.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett or Jimmy Buffett?
Wow, both great. I'm going to say Warren Buffett because of how much money he gives away.
Okay, it's kind of like you. Are you a religious person? You seem like you have a good heart. Faithful, and you're here to serve. Is that kind of
always
your philosophy? Is there anything else that we haven't asked you that you want to maybe tell people who see the show that would help them?
I think, we have our state tournament coming up, and we've won it the last 2 years, and we've taken second place 3 of the last 4. So every year there's so much pressure on these kids and our staff. Like when you come to West Ham, like if we don't win the state title, everyone's going to be like. So the only thing I would ask is, if any of your viewers are at one of the state games, first round, second round, third round, fourth round, and we are losing at halftime, they could bring themselves to pay the refs each an extra $50 on the way in for the second half. I sure would appreciate it.
Well, I know you just won your 5th league title in a
Yes,
row.
sir.
So, and I know your kids were worried about Friday, but you won by what, 18 or 20?
18. Kids played great.
18. So, Cam Reddish, is he the best player you've coached?
Best player I've ever seen in high school offensively. I didn't see LeBron or Kobe, but I've now seen high school basketball for close to 40 years.
Billy Owens? Okay, we have a special treat here today. We have Jake Forrester, 6'8" forward. Stretch 4, would you say, or just a regular 4?
No, I said stretch forward.
Stretch 4, and he's going to Indiana University.